I actually think the Red Sox might not suck this year.
This is the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz.
Me.
Presented by Bigelow Tea, Jackson Lumber, Blue Moon Light, Wellesley Testosterone, FindMassMoney.com, Gem Plumbing, and by Golf. On Boston's home for sports, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
And a 1-2 pitch. And a ground ball. Should do it. On the first, and the Red Sox win it. 9-3, Richard Fitz tasting victory for the first time in his major league career. This was bombs away, 14 hits, 3 home runs. Cedon, for the third consecutive game, hits a home run, and the Red Sox cruise to the victory.
We kind of put it all together here, really. I mean, Richard Fitz gives you 5 2/3. Good to see him get deep into games. And then just the offense. They continue to do it. You know, the last 7 games now averaging over 8 runs a game. That's usually going to get it done. And a good win here to start this homestand.
I know this is obvious. I know it's obvious. But you know what? Don't you love it when they hit? They've been hitting now for a while. The Red Sox have been hitting for over a week. It's closer to 10 games. And when they hit, it makes all the difference in the world. There's just more energy in the ballpark. Years ago, I remember when the Red Sox were in a funk and they couldn't hit. And they were on the West Coast, and it was late in the year, and it looked like they were packing it in and quitting, in large part because they probably were. They were out of it. They were shutting it down. And I had written something about the team looking like they were starting to quit. And Terry Francona said something to me about, well, it looks that way when you're not hitting. You look lifeless and you look dead, but when you're hitting, you look like you have energy, and you usually do. And you know what's going on with the Red Sox right now? They're hitting. So here's the question, because we got a call about this today. Is it the Red Sox or is it the opposition? Because they've played the Washington Nationals and the Colorado Rockies in the last 4 games, 2 of the 3 worst pitching staffs in baseball. The Washington Nationals ranked 28th out of the 30 major league teams in ERA. The Red Sox just swept them. Then they come home, and now they're getting the Rockies, who are 30th, dead last. You are getting the worst pitching staff in baseball at Fenway Park right now, and maybe more importantly, coupled with the Washington series, you are seeing a crap ton of left-handers, and the Red Sox annihilate left-handed pitching. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to go back to a question I asked earlier in the season. And I asked this to you, then I asked it to Jim Murray. And I said, what do they do well? Tell me what the Red Sox do well. Jim Murray's answer that night was they hit bad pitching, which still might be the answer. But I'm going to give you another one. What do they do well? They punish left-handed pitching. Pummel it, in fact. Last night, that lineup with Ref Snyder and with Romy Gonzalez and Rafaela and Story, even though he did nothing, you go right up and down it, they crush left-handed pitching. So the Red Sox are now 47-45, 70 games to go. And I feel compelled to tell you this because I've just harped on it so much that I can't let it go. In the last 800 games, going back to the start of the 2020 season, they are perfectly 500. 400 wins, 400 losses. This is exactly who they have been over the last 5 years. 6 years, really. 400 and 400. They're now 2 games over, and everything screams that they're going to end up back at 500 right at the All-Star break or sometime between now and the end of the season. They've been 500 16 times during the year. We can say it's a 500 team, except for this. They have a lot of young guys who might be getting better. So let me ask you this question. What if that's what's happening here? What if they are actually getting better and we have yet to see the best of the 2025 Red Sox? What if that is happening, and what if they make an acquisition at the deadline, and I understand they need to win some games before that, but just work with me. What if what is happening now is just the beginning of the transition into the Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer era, whatever that becomes? Is it possible that that's what's happening here? So look, Anthony in particular to me is a huge X factor with this team, and here's why. Earlier this year when the Red Sox were struggling offensively, and this was always built as a more offensive team than a pitching one, what you all hoped, or we all hoped, was that the pitching and defense would be average. And it's been below average for much of the year. On top of that, the offense became trick or treat. So what happened? They were really under 500 and underwater for a good portion of the year. Now they're hitting again. And the question is this a flash in the pan, or is it the start of something more consistent? So earlier today, when we first got in here today, I went with, sat in front of a computer with our intern, Thomas, and I said, the Red Sox have struck out 77 times in the last 10 games. 77 times. So a little under 8 per game, which for them is good. In fact, I would say that's pretty good. It's less than 1 per inning in any game. If you're an offense, you'll take that. Cora has been preaching and bitching about the fact that they didn't put the ball in play enough. And now all of a sudden they're putting the ball in play and striking out less. So I thought, well, how many 10-game streaks or stretches have they had this season in which they struck out 77 times or fewer? And the answer is that this is the 5th. It's really the 4th because one of them overlapped, or 2 of them overlapped with one another by 1 game. So it's really the 4th time, except this is the only time when the Red Sox have put the ball in play like this and hit for a high average and won the majority of games. It's probably the most complete stretch of offensive baseball that they have played all year. In the last 10 games, they're hitting .320. Their OPS is .937. So they're hitting for a high average, and they're hitting the ball out of the ballpark. So little did I know that Alex Spear of the Globe was going to post a story today about this very thing. And he asked Pete Fatsi, the hitting coach, and Alex Cora about the change in the offense. Most of this story is dedicated to the Red Sox inability to hit fastballs, which has been a problem all year. Okay? So Alex Spear writes, for much of the season, the Red Sox had been conquered, he calls it Velocitus Rex, but we'll just call it the fastball, okay? Opposing teams attacking them with a blunt game plan. The Red Sox have seen 49% fastballs this year, the 4th highest rate in baseball. It's not a coincidence. The Red Sox had been vulnerable against heaters for much of the year until recently. We're not striking out anymore, right? Cora said. I think that's telling the story. We're putting the ball in play. We still have some holes like everybody else, but I think we're not striking out as much as we were 3 weeks ago. End quote. Alex Spear then writes, asked to clarify what happened 3 weeks ago, Cora implicitly referenced the June 15th decision to trade Rafael Devers to the Giants as a landmark. Quote, different personnel. I mean, let's be honest, that's part of this, Cora said. This is a different group than 3 weeks ago, and I think the guys that we have now, they put the ball in play. And in those situations, they catch up with the fastball against lefties and against righties. And we've just gotten better. Okay, now look, let me jump in here and say this. If you think that this whole thing is turned around because Rafael Devers was traded away, I'll tell you, you're out of your mind. So that to me is complete bullcrap. And if I were the Red Sox, I'd be careful about pinning this whole thing on Rafael Devers, especially when they have a history of nosediving and going right back into the tank. So that's number one. However, let me continue reading from Spear. With Devers, the Red Sox hit .259 against four-seamers and sinkers. that was 20th in baseball, while slugging 16th with a 22% strikeout rate. From the trade through the start of Monday night's game, they were hitting 270, which is 11th, so they've gone from 20th to 11th. They're slugging 440, which means they've gone from 16th to 11th. And their strikeout rate has gone to 19% from 28th to 12th. Now, look, I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, but you get the idea. They're making better contact, they are hitting for a higher average, and they're hitting for better power. And I'll go back to Spear here. The absence of Devers and arrival of Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer has led to some shift of the team's dynamics against fastballs, a notion that gained further credence on Monday night, last night, when the Red Sox went 7 for 15 with 2 home runs and 3 doubles against fastballs in the 9-3 win over the Rockies. But there's more to the recent surge than just changing personnel. Ceddanne Rafaela, who had a strikeout rate of 24% on fastballs before the Devers trade, has dropped all the way down to 13% since then. Trevor Story had a fairly steady swing and miss rate against fastballs this year, has now started to punish fastballs with 3 homers off pitches of 95 plus miles per hour. This is something I've talked about all year. Story's inability to hit a fastball, except now he's hitting it. So what has allowed the Red Sox to handle that or change? Pete Fatsi says it's a combination of things, a change in the way they're meeting and coaching the players. There's more individual attention paid to guys. And I would argue that Rafaela right there is Exhibit A. Rafaela feels to me like the kind of guy that falls asleep in a meeting or gets bored. But if you get him one-on-one, he can't. So again, he forgets how many outs there are, or he tries to barehand a ball when he doesn't have to. His mistakes are absent-minded, lack of focus. So the same, in theory, should hold true at the plate. So when the Red Sox are having team meetings and they're sitting with all their hitters at once, you know what Rafaela's doing? Losing focus. So what do the Red Sox do? They change the approach. We're going to meet with guys individually too, just to make sure they get the message as to how we want to handle this. And you know what's happened? Maybe Rafaela's gotten better. So again, let me ask you the question. And I'm not telling you I believe one way or the other. I'm just asking you the question. What if they get better? What if Anthony is one of these guys who you drop into the big leagues at age 21 and it takes him a month to figure it out, and then all of a sudden he hits pretty much from now till the beginning to the end, or the end rather? What if Rafaela, the light is going on and he's actually starting to put it together, and he is, as we said last night, defensively and offensively, one of the 3 best center fielders in the American League, if not the entire game? What if, after playing the Rockies, and with the way it's gone, they'll probably lose tonight, but what if after playing the Rockies, they don't just hang in there with Tampa Bay, but they win 3 out of 4? So look, all I'm telling you is this. It's a big week for the Red Sox. The All-Star break's coming up. They're beating up on bad competition right now. The young guys look like they're getting some confidence. And they have a division opponent who's currently in the playoffs coming in next. By the time Sunday comes, we're going to have a much clearer idea of whether these games against Washington and Colorado are real, or whether they were just another flash in the pan before they dip back to 500. So this is where I want to start tonight. And again, Anthony to me is the X factor. 617-779-0985. We'll take your calls next on the Baseball Hour.
Roman 4 in a row. He's hit in. Stings this one. That's back this way. Way back. A monster shot for Roman Anthony. Red Sox on top 5-1. His second home run, his first at Fenway.
Sneak that heater by him. Bummer didn't look happy at all, whether it was location or just pitch selection. Going into Washington, Roman was 4 for 22 versus lefties. He's now 5 for his last 11 with an absolute bomb at 418 to really spread this game out, right? 3-1, it's a close game. Nice little 4-run cushion, of course, all of it with that 2-out 2-2 from Romy. Is that heater up at 91, up and out over the middle of the plate. This ballpark's not going to hold it.
Red Sox were blasting away last night. Roman Anthony was first home run at Fenway Park. Hit the back wall almost of the bleachers in center field, which is a freaking smash. Romy Gonzalez hit one too, 454 feet or something like that to left center field. That was a missile. Raffaello homered again. So they're blasting the ball all over the ballpark. Okay, it's sort of reminiscent of what the Red Sox are when they're loaded and they're playing well. And I would say that historically, because they've dominated in their own ballpark when they had good teams. Dominated, and right now they're annihilating left-handed pitching no matter where they are. So, but here's what I'm going to tell you. The departure of Rafael Devers, Felger said this today, and he couldn't be more right about this particular point. The trade of Rafael Devers is a line drawn in the sand that will mark this Red Sox season and that we will make all judgments before and from. So if they turn it around and play well, now that Devers is gone, believe me when I tell you that if you are one of these people that is happy that Devers is gone, because I wasn't. I believe in the talent and I believe in, having good players and that the chemistry can come from winning. But your best chance to win without Devers in the middle of that lineup is Roman Anthony. He's the guy. And if they need somebody from the left side who can completely mash and who can hit lefties and righties and come up with big hits, your best chance is Roman Anthony. And if he is one of these rare guys who gets to the big leagues and doesn't need a lot of time to figure it out, and I'm not telling you he is or he isn't, but if he's that guy, your season can change. And he had only one of the big hits last night, but I think some of the other guys are more established in what they are. For example, Romy Gonzalez and Rob Refsnyder, we know what they are. They annihilate left-handed pitching. They kill it. So you add that and Alex Bregman to Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer against righties, and you might end up with a pretty decent team and decent lineup. Now, the pitching has to hold up. You got to make an acquisition at the deadline. But again, I said this yesterday. The league sucks. The American League stinks. You can get in with 85, 86 wins. Not out of the realm of possibility. Let me take your calls here, and I also want to get to something on Devers that really makes him look bad that has been disclosed here in San Francisco the last couple of days. Jack in Shrewsbury. Jack, what do you got?
Hey, man, it's two quick things. First, I agree the Sox cannot be shaking their ass over beating up 3 of the bottom 5 clubs in the National League. I think we'll better know the trajectory of the team come trade deadline. We got some legit matchups coming, and we'll know if we have something there. Second, do you see the Devers trade having a similar effect as the Nomar trade, where what we gain in chemistry from removing him will overshadow the loss of talent?
So, Jack, look, the comparison to the Garcia Power deal is an easy one to make, but I don't know if it really fits, and I'll tell you why. Because the teams are just so different. So, the Red Sox had a core in 2004 of veteran guys who were ready to win, and Nomar didn't want to get on board. The other guys were ready to win. They were ready to. And, by the way, the number one defense, the reason they traded Nomar, 2 things. 1, he wouldn't sign. And 2, his defense was horrible. So I remember at the time Theo Epstein saying that they thought that they needed to make the move because their defense up the middle was a fatal flaw. They thought it was going to do them in. Now, had they been able to sign Nomar, they'd have put up with it. So really, the money was a factor too. Devers was signed. This was different. And the Red Sox didn't have the history at that time of chasing star players out of town. So it was totally different. But I understand your general question. And the answer to me is it only works if Anthony hits. If Anthony hits, maybe. Maybe. Because I think Anthony's about the only guy that could come close to replacing what Devers gave you. Frank in Boston. Frank, go.
Yeah, hi. I always find it interesting that when things are going poorly for a short period of time, the nerds tell you the sample size is not big enough. But, of course, when things are good, the small sample size always seems sufficient. But I think there's one big thing they're leaving out of their analysis, which is I would not overlook the importance of getting Christian Campbell out of the lineup. When you have it for the fielding as well, by the way, but when you have a black hole that is that substantial in your lineup and you combine it with other guys like Connor Wong and some of the other people they had in there, you have no chance. So in addition to some of the factors you pointed out, I would not discount the absence of Campbell's bat as being a big help for the lineup.
Frank, it's an excellent point. Christian Campbell was one of the worst players in the big leagues. So again, and this should be a lesson to you too. Look at what it looks like with a guy who is ready to play versus a guy who isn't. Now look, Roman Anthony has more talent than Christian Campbell does. And for that matter, so does Marcelo Meyer. It's why they were both picked in higher in the draft than Christian Campbell was. Christian Campbell was a fourth-round pick who the Red Sox rushed to the big leagues. And they rushed him for all the wrong reasons because they needed the right-handed bat, and he fit a position that they didn't have. Even though they forced him into second base, really, he wasn't ready to play it. He started hot and went the other way. Anthony started slowly and has now figured it out. And I would tell you that what Roman Anthony is doing is far more customary of a guy who belongs in the big leagues. In fact, the guy who comes out and usually just rips from the start almost never lasts because then he encounters some difficulty and all of a sudden he can't fix it. So I would tell you, he makes a good point. The absence of Campbell has also made a big difference in the strikeouts. So Campbell and Devers out of the lineup, more balls in play. Interesting, though, that Cora didn't mention Campbell. He mentioned Devers because they know they have to bring the kid back. Jim and Groton. Jim, what do you got?
Hey, Maz. I apologize if you and Felger talked about this today because I wasn't able to listen to you, but did you see what Will Fleming said about Devers?
Yes, I did.
At Boston.com?
Yes.
It sounds like he was a problem all along with the Red Sox.
Okay, so so Jim, are you talking about the fact that he wouldn't work out at first base with Will Clark and the Giants, or is it something else?
Yeah, Will Clark shows up. The guy's a borderline Hall of Famer. His number's retired in San Francisco, and Raffy stands him up.
Okay, yeah, so I'll tell you what, we'll give people the date. Thank you for the call. We're going to give people more details on that, and we'll actually tell you what Will Clark said about Rafael Devers not being willing to work out with him at first base. Also, when we come back, it is, after all, Trivia Tuesday. We'll give away a $50 Gulf gas card to, we'll get two callers right out of the gate here at 617-931-0985. If you can answer one trivia question right, you'll win yourself a $50 Gulf gas card. That's Trivia Tuesday, presented by Gulf. Download the Gulf Pay mobile app for everyday savings. Gulf, it all starts here. Again, first two callers, 617-931-0985. And if those two can't get the right answer and don't win the gas card, we'll take two more after that. Again, 617-931-0985. Kevin Majori's got your headlines.
of experts.
Oh, I like this.
It's the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz on the Sports Hub.
I got to tell you, as far as giveaways go, $50 golf gas card's pretty good. You fill your tank. I mean, that's something that'll last you a whole week or something close to it. $50, fill your tank. Pretty good deal. So again, Trivia Tuesday presented by Golf. Download the Golf Pay mobile app for everyday savings. Golf, it all starts here, and we have a caller on the line, but I'll say this again. If David from Milton gets it wrong, we need a second caller, which we don't have yet. 617-931-0985. You could be up next if David gets it wrong, but we'll punch up David and invite him in. David, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Okay, good. So there is a theme here on Trivia Tuesday that every week I try to ask something that relates to the opponent the Red Sox are playing, and there's obviously a Red Sox connection, so we want to give away the gas card. I try to ask questions that most people would know. So if I asked you, just in general, this is not the trivia question, I'm just asking. If I were to ask you questions about the Colorado Rockies, but there has to be a Red Sox hook, what do you think I'm going to ask you about? What meeting between the Red Sox and the Rockies?
Clueless.
Clueless?
I'm clueless.
Okay, how about Jimmy, would you guess? How about the 2007 World Series? Does that work, Jimmy Stewart?
Yeah.
Okay, the Red Sox played the Rockies in the 2007 World Series. So Here you go, David. The Red Sox swept Colorado in that World Series in 2007. Who was the most valuable player of that World Series?
Well, it wasn't Schilling, right? And it wasn't.
Don't tell me who it wasn't. Tell me who it was.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going through in my head. I'm dead on arrival.
Okay. Jimmy Stewart, you want to help him out?
I believe it was Mike Lowell.
Mike Lowell is the correct answer. Very good. We'll bring in another caller. And by the way, let me tell you that Joe in Roxbury is going to be our second caller. If Joe gets it wrong, then I'm going to ask him a different question. If Joe gets it wrong, we need two more callers. So again, 617-931-0985. The $50 gas card still up for grabs. Jimmy, now I can't punch him up because I'm frozen. So could you punch up Joe in Roxbury? Joe, you there?
Yes. What's up, Tony?
Okay, here you go.
I'm ready.
Okay, when the Red Sox beat the Rockies in 2007, again, they swept the series. The clinching game, Game 4, was pitched by a Red Sox starter who got the win in a feel-good story after having been diagnosed with cancer earlier in his career and then recovering. Who was the pitcher?
I think it was John Lester, but that's what I'll go with.
John Lester is correct. Very good. There you go. John Lester is the right answer. So he'll stay on the line. We'll get your information, Joe, back behind the glass with Jimmy, Kevin Majori. In fact, Terry Francona made sure that he greeted Lester and cited him after that game. It was a nice story, and we all know what Lester became after that. So that was still in the early stages of his career. Anyway, back to the Red Sox. The story that a caller mentioned said he saw it on Boston.com. It really originated on a podcast out in the San Francisco area where Will Clark, whom many of you may remember, played for the Giants, the Texas Rangers, Baltimore Orioles, was a good first baseman, multiple All-Star, a good offensive and defensive player. The caller called him a borderline Hall of Famer. I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but he was a good player. Will Clark was an All-Star caliber player. Will Clark is now a coach or an advisor with the Giants, whom they use on certain occasions. Went on to a podcast to talk about Rafael Devers and his arrival in San Francisco. The first voice you're going to hear is the podcaster who is talking about Clark's interaction with Devers. We'll pick it up there.
Devers comes over from Boston, and you have an opportunity to meet him.
Right. So Matt Williams and Bob Melvin want me to go out there and work with him around first base. No problem. And we weren't gonna go through anything physical. We just gonna walk through and say, hey, look, if throw's coming from over there, stand this way. If throw's coming from over there, stand that way. it wasn't going to be this big thing, right? And Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he did not come out early at all, period. Not at all. Matter of fact, he didn't even hit on the field, right? And everybody's like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry, Will. I'm so sorry. I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. I said, I know what happened. I said, he didn't want to go out and be at first base and be 20 feet in front of their freaking dugout with, what went on in Boston, and now he's working with me at first base. He didn't want to have to go through all that bullshit through the press and the media. And so, anyway, so I completely understand. But Rafael Devers, the next time I'm in San Francisco, your ass will be on the field at first base. Just letting you know that. Just from the
but if he's not going to go out, he's going to call you.
Hey, look, even if I got to go grab you by the back of the neck and drag your ass out there, you will be at first base.
Okay, so again, that's Will Clark, and the story is, if you weren't able to follow it, Devers was supposed to work on the field with Will Clark over the weekend when the Red Sox were in town, and he never showed up. Didn't go out on the field, didn't even take batting practice out on the field. Will Clark assumed it was because Devers didn't want to go out in the field and rub it in their face and, take any sort of pregame prep while the Red Sox were in San Francisco. So Will Clark says he'll let it go. But the next time he's in San Francisco, he's going to make Rafael Devers go out on the field, and he's going to work with him at first base, even if he has to grab him by the effing back of the neck. So now, look, again, this is going to be a dividing line in this Red Sox season. It already is. The Devers trade is a dividing line. So the Red Sox now are again on a hot streak, and they've had a few of them this year, where now they're hitting the ball all over the ballpark, and I would argue offensively just had their best week and a half of the season. More contact, higher average, and higher OPS than any 10-game stretch they've had this year. That's a fact. So is that because it's the Washington Nationals and Colorado Rockies and Cincinnati Reds? Or is that because the Red Sox are starting to figure it out and Roman Anthony has started to hit and their lineup has changed and they are pummeling left-handed pitching? Pummeling it. So you tell me, do you believe in them yet or do you not? Because I would tell you by the end of this week, one way or another, no matter which side you're on, you're going to have an answer. If the Red Sox continue to beat up on the Rockies and then carry it through Tampa Bay, I think you're going to look at them differently during the All-Star break than you do right now. Let's go to Anthony and Natick. Go ahead, Anthony.
Tony, quick question before my comment. If you said earlier that you want to keep Story, he's a value add. I agree. This question. If you move Story to second base and put Meyer at shortstop, would he still be a value add? And I wanted to make one comment after you answered it.
So, Anthony, I would say yes. Look, I'm all for good defense and good play. To me, the issue with Trevor Story, look, I don't think Story's a star. I don't think he's a centerpiece guy. But if he's playing the way he is right now, you can hit him in the bottom half of the lineup, meaning sixth or lower. Okay, you can hit him somewhere in there, and he can help your team. So
Tony,
go ahead. No, go.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, Tony, the whole thing is I feel like the answers are right in front of us. It's like if you move Durant, you have the fill-in with Roman Anthony, and if you move Story to second base and you have Meyer at shortstop and you platoon first base, there's your 9. I just kind of feel like it's not really that complicated. Maybe I'm making it too easy. I don't know.
You're not making it too easy, but what's wrong with having Meyer at second base or Meyer at third and leaving Story at short and doing what you're doing at second base with Romy Gonzalez and David Hamilton? Here is what I would tell you. So, again, everybody wants Meyer at shortstop because he's the prospect, and now you're thinking the wrong way. You just want to accommodate Meyer when the fact of the matter is you should be focused on what accommodates winning. That's what you should be focused on. So I feel like in the last 10 days, the Red Sox have started to give us a pretty consistent lineup in terms of we know what they're going to do. When they face left-handed pitching, Ref Snyder's in the lineup, Romy Gonzalez is in the lineup, usually at first or second. Toro sometimes goes over and plays third. And then they adjust accordingly. But Anthony's your DH, your left fielder's Duran, your center fielder's Raffaello, your right fielder's Abreu. You know who the catcher and the shortstop are going to be, and first base, second base, and third depend on the platoon matchup. But I think that is now clear. This is what I'm telling you. I feel like now they have a little bit of a system in place. And I have to say, I like the stability of that. When everybody knows when they're going to play. And you know why that is? Because it's working.
Well, Tony, Marcelo Meyer might be playing in Worcester soon.
Okay, why? What just happened?
So Sean McAdam tweets an interesting question. As Red Sox face tough roster calls, could Marcelo Meyer's spot be in jeopardy? Theorizing that he might be going to Worcester so that he can get more at-bats.
Okay, but so who would come up in his place?
Yoshida. Yoshida comes up tomorrow. He's the DH. Anthony was taking balls off the monster in left field.
I see. So because Bregman and Yoshida are coming in, Meyer would have to go.
Yes.
I see. Interesting.
So your two top prospects have come up. They've failed at the big league level, and now they're back in Worcester. Cool.
Okay, so again, I want Bregman in the lineup. I'd prefer they keep Meyer and put him at second base. I don't know who else they could get rid of. So Eaton, what about Eaton? He's going to be one of the two that goes.
No, I assume he's staying. I mean, Cora told us 2 weeks ago he's really good.
Okay, well.
He's your leadoff hitter.
Eaton's going to go. Eaton's not going to stay. It's the second spot. It's Yoshida. Eaton's going to go when Bregman comes back. And then when Yoshida comes in, then they have a decision to make. So that would be my guess anyway.
It's really Hamilton who should go. He blows, but he runs fast. Need.
So I like the idea of keeping Meyer over Hamilton too, Jimmy. I'm with you on that. And that's exactly what they should do and trade Hamilton. Crew and Quincy on Tanner Houck. Ed Crew.
Or DFA him.
Hey, Tony. Something that's, I think, flown completely under the radar this year is the mess that Tanner Houck's been all year. And he was supposed to be a top of the rotation guy behind Crochet, and he's like 2-9 in his starts or something this year. And I mean, if he gave you anything that he was giving you last year, the season, you'd be looking at 7-8 games over 500. And now he's down in Pawtucket, and he's getting his stuff just totally pushed in. So I mean, that to me is like one of the biggest issues that's totally flown under the radar this year.
Yeah, so Crew, look, again, to me, what I would focus on is the fact that the Red Sox, again, developmentally appear to have failed. So Tanner Houck, they effed up from the very beginning. They changed him into a two-seamer guy, and then they switched him back to a four-seam guy, and they've constantly tinkered with his delivery. And look, maybe he's just inconsistent and he was never going to make it. It looked to me like last year he had figured it out. So I don't know what the hell happened to Tanner Houck during the offseason, but he wasn't right from the minute he showed up at spring training. Now, again, all of your players aren't going to come in and have good years. It's still salvageable even without Tanner Houck. I understand your point, but they're not all going to have good years. The beauty of having a deep roster and a good team is that other guys pick you up. So maybe that's Bayo. Maybe that's Giolito. Maybe it's Hunter Dobbins or Richard Fitz or whoever. But Tanner Houck going underwater should not be the thing that takes you out. You should be better than that. We'll wrap it up when we come back.
Sports Hub.
Now driven out here. Back our way. Oh, my. Romy crushes one.
Just what more can you say about this guy in lefties?
So look, I know it sounds ridiculous. There were a lot of people bitching a couple of weeks ago about Marcelo Meyer not being in the lineup, Anthony not playing every day, and against lefties, Cora said he wanted to get Ref Snyder and Romy Gonzalez in there. Turns out he was right. Now, look, again, there's a lot to pick at Cora about this year, but on this one, he was right. Romy Gonzalez against left-handed pitching is hitting .400 with an OPS of like 1,200, and in his career, the numbers aren't that far off from that. He destroys left-handed pitching. The defense shakes the clown.
Well, Maz, you know why him and Ref Schneider are hitting lefties so well?
Why?
They're getting the signs from the first base coach.
Well,
if he walks, it's a fastball. If it's off speed, he stands still.
It's a fair point, Jimmy. He might know what's coming.
Yeah, so that's why they're hitting lefties so well.
Could be that, but then how come everybody can't hit him? So
because the third base coach isn't as good at cheating.
And I also wonder, like, you know, again, his whole career, he's been able to hit lefties. The guy can pound left-handed pitching. So I think guys like that are valuable players on your team. They are. Again, you can platoon the right-handed batter that can hit a left-hander. You can find guys like that, but the Red Sox right now have two of them. They face lefties, they win. Quickly, John in the car. John, you got to be fast.
Tony, real quick. At this point, trade Durant for whatever you can get from Atlanta or San Diego, and you'll be a better team because of it. And also, Tony, there was a problem with Devers in that locker room. They may not be saying that, but the team just seems like a weight is off their shoulders. He's doing exactly what he did here, minus the power, because it's a bigger outfield in San Francisco.
Okay, so I don't think there was a problem in the clubhouse. I don't think his teammates hated him. I'm just giving you my 2 cents. Rafael Devers was here for how many years and never was a problem in the clubhouse? Ever. In fact, his teammates liked him. Maybe they didn't really interact with him that much. He's kind of goofy, oversized kid, but he wasn't a problem. So he became a problem this year. Up until that, he wasn't. So now what went wrong? I think we all know the story there. The thing with him and ownership and management completely fractured. It wasn't fixable. Does that mean Devers was right? No, but I pushed back on the whole thing that he was a problem in the clubhouse. I don't think he was. I think the Devers problem hung over the team, but I don't think he was necessarily polluting or corrupting other players. I know there's some stories out there about it, but I really don't think that's how it went down. And when I say, and if it did, I would tell you that was not standard over his years here. There was never any talk about Rafael Devers being a problem in the clubhouse until this year. Ever. So to me, I just think that's an important thing to keep in perspective. It's not like he got here a year ago. The guy's been here 7 or 8 years. Kevin Majori's got your headlines. Joe Murray's got you for the rest of the night. Again, Red Sox and Rockies over at Fenway. We'll have a lot to talk about, I think, the rest of the week, really leading into the All-Star break. We'll catch you next time.